goal kicker, Taylor Walker, with a welcome off. Here's Roselli. Roselli kicks the goal.
Handball to the excitement machine, McLeod. Left foot goal.
Oh, don't tell me.
He's a superstar.
Don't tell me. Oh! He's yet to kick an AFL goal. Oh, the velvet curtain.
Walker, oh, he's a colossus. He's kicked 5. He's been a handful. He's been the difference.
To cover himself in glory. He's coming back. And got there.
Hello, welcome to Proper Crows podcast. This is our draft preview. Whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or watching on YouTube, just want to say thank you for support even over the off-season. Today we're just going to be previewing the upcoming national draft, analysing our list and what we need, who is most likely to be available at our picks, and going to your questions and a few more things. Just quickly, I just want to say, Dom, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. It's been a pretty big gap in between, so I'm feeling pretty refreshed, but I'm excited to talk some footy again.
Yes, it will be good. And we also have a special guest on with us today. We've got our good friend and day one supporter of the pod, Christian. How are you?
Dill, Dom, yeah, really happy to be on. Thank you for inviting me. Big fan of the Proper Crows podcast. Yeah, really excited to speak about the Crows list and the upcoming draft. That's going to really shape our club for the next couple of years. So really on for this opportunity, and I'm glad to be on.
No worries, mate. Thanks for being here. So just a quick one. Christian has quite a lot of knowledge about the younger crop that's coming through. He's a big supporter of the, probably from under 16s through to the under 18s of that big draft crop coming through. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity for him to jump on and, give us his big wealth of knowledge. So what we'll do first, we're just going to quickly go through who we've lost in the off season. Do you want to go through our list, Dom, and who we've lost and who we bring in?
Sure. So I'll go through the outs first. So we've got Chris Burgess, Matt Crouch, Carl Gallagher, Lockie Murphy, Justice for 4, Harry Schomburg, who is hanging around the rest of the group like a fly, but it's fine. Good on him. He's got to stay in shape somehow. Brodie Smith, Kieran Strawn, and then Tyler Welsh. But we have committed to redrafting Tyler Welsh as a rookie. And then the only ins we've got so far is Indy Cotton as a Category B rookie, and then Finbar Malley across from North. So quite a few outs, few list spots available going into the draft. Obviously one will be taken up by Kalamachi, hopefully getting done through the preseason draft. But yeah, not too much activity in the trade period, so hopefully we'll have a nice little draft pick available for us and see what happens on draft night.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of movement, quite a few outs. We don't really see this number of players going out of a club very often. Was there any surprises to you, Christian, of sort of who left?
Oh, no, they're pretty much the players you expected. I mean, Harry Schomburg and Chris Burgess were both demoted to the rookie list, so you could sort of see that coming from a mile away. The Carl Gallagher had 2 years in the SANFL and probably wasn't playing a game at AFL level, so I'm not really surprised with that one either. Look, everyone has their thoughts on Lachlan Murphy. Without a doubt, a good player to play for the club with all of his efforts that came on, but it's pretty obvious the club needed to go in a different direction, particularly in that small forward area, so that can't be a surprise to many people. Brodie Smith, we could probably see coming to his retirement all throughout that year. Obviously started in the SANFL, and you sort of had that vibe throughout the entire season that it was sort of going to end that way. Kieran Strawn obviously made the very selfless decision when he got injured in pre-season to give up his lift spot to accommodate for Lockie McAndrew. A really selfless decision for him to do that. And obviously, towards the back end of the year, the club were lucky to get that SANFL agreement for him to still play in the SANFL team. But, 30-year-old ruckman, you're probably not going to play too many more games at AFL level. And it's pretty obvious that Rob is going to be the mainstay for the next couple of years. So that was sort of always landing in another direction. And the Matt Crouch retirement probably took me a bit by surprise. I didn't know exactly how bad that hip injury was, but unfortunately his career's been cut short, and it's a real shame because I feel like he leaves a big hole in the midfield, and we deeply missed his services, particularly in those last two finals where if he played, it would have been a completely different ball game. So that's another really big loss for the club and something we can definitely look at towards in this draft to replacing.
Yeah, 100%. Is it the same consensus with you, Dom? Not really shocked by anything?
Nah, not really. I think Christian kind of summed them up pretty well in terms of you saw most of them coming, bar probably Matt Crouch. But even then, with a hip injury at his age, the writing wasn't necessarily on the wall. I think we were all thought when he went out of that Sandford game after being out for 6 or 7 weeks that he was probably done for the year. But the retirement still came as a shock. But if he's done, he's done. You can't really, when someone's forced to medically retire, it pretty much always comes out of nowhere unless it's a concussion type scenario. So, but again, I think Christian summed it up perfectly. He definitely left a big hole in that midfield towards the back end of the year, and especially in those two finals. And yeah, like you said, hopefully it's something we can attack at the draft this year to try and at least start trying to look at replacing him.
Yeah, 100%. And then coming in as well, we've got Indy Cotton as a Cat B rookie. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yep, Cat B. Haven't heard much about him. He was, as a 15, 16-year-old, they reckon he was going to go top 10 and then went down the basketball route. But here we are. We're back to AFL football for him. Have you got a little bit of an insight on him, Christian, and what he can bring?
Oh, it's hard. He's been out the game for a long time. I mean, it's been 4 years since he's played footy. It's really hard to judge where he's going to play at AFL level or where he's going to start off the year. So that's a question more so for Nix and the coaching staff, because no one really knows where he's going to play. I mean, we've got this 195 centimetre unicorn who's just a freak athlete. You can literally put him anywhere in the ground. I think I've seen somewhere that he played midfield during the juniors, which probably isn't a surprise. That's where most of the best kids in the team end up playing. But whether he plays a key position role for us, or maybe starts that Dan Curtin role on the wing. I think that we've got a really talented and we've got a really exciting prospect to look forward to. And it's essentially a free hit, 3 years out the game, you get to sign him as a Cat B rookie. You had clubs left, right and centre chasing for him. And he's landed on the Crows. So that's a massive win for Justin Reid, Hamish Ogilvie and the team. But I think that recruitment in particular will shape what we do in this draft and what our list looks like going forward, because as you know, we've got quite an arrangement of key forwards and key position players on the list already. So it'll be really interesting to see the direction we go in.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. I did read that he liked to play sort of that mid-forward role. So as a 195 centimetre running through there, you've got a pretty big prospect on your hands, and hopefully sort of lives up to it. But as you said, it is a free hit, so no complaining there. And then we also bring in Finbar Maley. He's the bloke with the big hands from North Melbourne. He's an awful kick, but if he can clunk a few, then I think we'll be in a pretty good spot. He should get some decent service, so that's probably another free hit at what was that, a future fourth?
Yeah, it was a nothing pick.
Yeah, so who cares? I reckon he'll play a couple of games with that new 5 on the bench rule, but it'll be interesting. If not, he'll play Sandford and try and beat the corruption of that league.
I think it'll be interesting to see where he fits in that key forward role, because at Sandford level we've got quite an arrangement of key forwards and tall forwards in general. We got Welsh, Toby Murray, with Finbar in the team now. What's the role looking like with the marquee Simon we're going to make? Is it going to be Kieran Strawn that's been rumoured to take up that marquee role from Cal Twomey said a few months ago? So it's going to be really interesting. The situation around Taylor Walker. How much does he play next year? How big of a role will he play in the AFL team and manage his minutes in the sample? So, and of course, like we just mentioned, where is Indy Cotton playing? So that could be quite a stacked forward line, including the likes of, Braden Cook already in there, Luke Pedler as well to balance things out. Zach Taylor, Billy Dowling can also play a role at half forward. Blake Drury, if he's staying, who's the young. We had Ned Atkinson sign on as a sample marquee, as a sample underage marquee as well. So it'll be really interesting to see how that forward line functions next year, both at AFL and sample level.
Yes, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and sort of I'm excited to sort of see how it develops because we've got so many young kids as well that are sort of rolling through there and gives us such a arrangement of options, at state level and then also at AFL level as well. So it'll be good to see it develop. So we'll sort of move into where the list sits at the moment, and what do you reckon that we need to improve on the most? I'll throw over to you, Dom. What's the biggest thing that you're wanting us to sort of improve on and maybe bolster through these draft picks?
Oh, I think it's probably unanimous that the biggest hole in the list is probably like a gun mid. It's an interesting one to look at because as much as we might target a midfielder in the draft, I think there will be a little bit of not expectation, but probably a little bit of hope on the likes of Sid Draper and Dan Curtin kind of maturing and going into that role. Sid in his second year with another full preseason. Curtin's going to go into his third. I think it probably alleviates a little bit of the pressure if one of those can fire. But I still think it's a need. I still think they'll go after a midfielder in the draft. We got absolutely bullied in there in both of those finals. Even towards the end of the year, the midfield wasn't looking great. We all kind of said it a few times that we were lucky we were so clinical because we got beaten out of the middle a fair few times. And as much as I love some of the boys coming through, I don't think they've got the tank for midfield, i.e. Sam Berry. Billy Dowling we probably haven't seen enough of at AFL level. But Pedler definitely doesn't have a spot in there. Zach Taylor probably not either. He's probably kind of going to be that small forward player, unless some drastic changes. I mean, I'm never going to write him off because he was so good as a junior. But yeah, I think it's probably unanimous that the inside mid's the biggest need at the moment.
Are you the same, Christian? That's what you're sort of looking for us to bolster?
Oh, look, I've sort of got a few different areas I think the Crows need to look at improving. Now, not a lot of these are immediate needs, but I'm also looking for in about 2 or 3 years' time where there could be a potential issue if we don't address these issues now. So, look, just as a general, we're currently the eighth eldest list in the competition at 25.3 years old. Now, when Calamachi joins the list at the end of the month, that'll increase slightly, but not by too much. And in terms of experience, we're the 11th ranked most experienced team at 77.8 games. So I think in terms of list rating as a whole, you look at those two areas and you're thinking the list is probably in a position where it's really, as we know, it is ready to compete in finals and it is ready to take the next stage as a group. Now, in terms of position, I've got a few things I want to mention. I think, can we improve our key defensive stops? We've obviously got Muzz, Butts, Keane, Was and Borlace. That's 5 as it stands, and Borlace is the youngest of that crop, who's going to be 23 next year, and he's out of contract. Is a developing case for key defender a position of need? Maybe that's where they say Indy Cotton could play, but I think developing key forward might be on the priority list. Particularly given, rumours around Jordan Butts to the Bulldogs during the trade period. So I think this is an opportunity for us to enhance that list spot. Then I've got maybe another halfback. We've got Laird, who's probably going to retire soon. I've got a few question marks over Edwards and Ryan, who, obviously haven't been at the AFL level yet, but that's something we obviously need to look forward to. But we went really hard for Nazai Wanganeen Miller in the previous year. Is a player of his quality or is a player of his type something we look at in this draft potentially? Then I've got the wing position. Obviously, we've played Dan Curtin there this year, but his long-term future isn't a wingman. I think Isaac Cumming was really solid this year, but he's got potential to play potentially in that halfback role. And obviously, there's question marks over Chase Jones, Luke Sholey, and Luke Nankervis. Sorry, and potentially is that where Archie starts off the season? He played a pretty big role in the ring in the finals for Brisbane. Is that a position we can enhance in the draft? Then I think everyone unanimously agrees the biggest need of the list is another quality inside mid. Unfortunately, you can't really draft experience in the draft. So yeah, I think, and particularly with the loss of the Matt Crouch type, is the game moving away from accumulator role, first possession, clearance king. I say it's not. So I think that's why a player of his quality and a player of his caliber who possesses the same elite traits as Matt Crouch would be a real big in if we could draft someone of that quality. Obviously, the next player of to go to that level will probably be Sid Draper in the midfield. Yep. You can definitely expect to see him play more in the middle next year, and it'll be really interesting to see how we address the midfield depth in this draft. Are we going to go that Crouch replacement? Are we going to go big body? Do we already feel that there is a player on the list that is capable of filling that role? Charlie Edwards was drafted as a midfielder. Luke Pedler was drafted as a midfielder. Dowling, Taylor. So really interesting to see how we go in that regard. And then last thing I've got is probably a developing ruck. Obviously, we know Rob just signed a new deal and McAndrew is in his mid-20s. Toby Murray and Finbar Maley can both play in the ruck, but they're probably not developing rucks. And obviously, is this where we see Indy Cotton? I think personally he's probably a bit undersized to play a ruck, but is this a list need we need to address now? And I feel like, we've been crying out for a ruck for ages.
I was about to say, I think we need a ruck regardless. I know there's the whole argument of you don't need an elite ruck to win a flag, but he's a liability sometimes, and hopefully McAndrew comes along and it's not. But I tend to agree with that point that a developing ruck would definitely be nice. I think it was you that said it originally last year that if Taylor Goad was available, we should have looked at that pick before North got him. But I think that's a very good point to make. I'll have a question for you as well, because it's something we've talked about on the pod before, and you're a big fan of his. You don't have any concerns around Sid Draper, do you? You're locked into he'll be fine.
Oh no, I think he'll be a quality AFL player, potentially next captain of the football club. Yeah. I can understand. I can see why people think that. Particularly, the biggest knock on I think Sid is when he gets the ball out of stoppage and he's running and he's sprinting towards forward 50. He seems to get lost in that decision making.
Yeah.
Because he tends to overthink, and then I don't want to say butchers the disposal, but it certainly affects.
It's close to it, yeah.
And that's where he gets let down, because he gets so much space and he gets so much time, but it's just that hesitation. It probably lacks a bit of composure. So if he can improve that.
It's almost like how we joked about with Curtin that time, that the more time he has with the ball, the worse his disposal was last year. Like, it seems like Sid's almost the same in terms of he's almost better off getting it on the boot and, like, not having to think about what he's doing. Like, he just lets the instinct take over.
Yeah.
Versus, yeah.
I've got no doubt. Sid's got a long way to go. Like even he will admit that. But there is a player that has such a big point of difference. We do not have someone of the qualities that Sid Draper possesses. Probably the closest player that we have with those possessions is Isaac Rankin. We've got no one in the team that has the lateral movements, the body movements, and the way he bursts out of stoppage, and puts the ball inside 50. We've got no one of that quality, and I think as time goes on, you'll be able to see, why he was taken at so highly, and why he is such a big and important part of what we're doing here at this football club.
Yeah, I've got. I agree with everything that you're sort of saying about Sid, but I've just got a massive concern. It's just a Chase Jones 2.0. I'm really worried about it.
That is He'll never, even if he doesn't reach the heights we want him to, he's not going to be a Chase Jones.
No, look, I'm sure the same people saying that had 12 months ago had the same concerns around Daniel Curtin.
But that's sort of what is sort of putting me at ease a little bit, I'd say, because we were worried about Dan at this point 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And look how quickly he came on. So he'll be fine, but I'm just a little bit in the back of my mind. I'm just like, oh, shit.
It was better as a junior and through 18s than Chase Jones has actually had a quite good draft year, but there's, in the nicest way, there's levels, and I think we probably bit on Chase too early. Like, a bunch of clubs called their interest and we didn't, and I think that at the time came back to bite us. And I'm not, I understand that because I have friends that have said that as well. I'm talking about you, Luke. But yeah, I don't think he'll ever even get close to that. Like, Chase has been a good servant, but he's not going to be as, his floor is like
awful.
Yeah. Like,
I just hope he plays some good footy next year, Chase Jones, and we can fuck him off to Tasmania.
It's his last go at it, I reckon, before he gets the flick to Tassie for something. I hope he comes out and plays a blinder and just averages 35 disposals, and we get a first round pick for him. Imagine that.
Oh, would be nice.
It's dream world, but.
But what we're gonna do now, we're gonna roll on through to our current draft hand, and we'll sort of let Christian take the floor from there and go through a few players that could be available at our pick. So at the moment, we currently got 4 list spots available, and that's not counting Archie. So our current picks are pick 16, 48, 55, 64, 73, 75, 93, and 111. So there was an article that came out today. We're recording this as of Sunday, saying they were only going to be taking two picks and then potentially inviting someone on for a preseason training position. We've also got talks of a trade with Carlton, I think, for pick 16 this year and a future first for Carlton's pick 9. I'm not sure if that's still rumoured, but I did see something about it last week. Is there any update on that, Christian, or is that still sort of just sitting around?
Unfortunately, it's not looking likely. Cal Twomey posted yesterday that Essendon and North Melbourne are the likely favourites for those 2 picks. So as it stands, I think we're going to go in to this draft with the picks that remain current to our current list, unfortunately, which, look, it's a bit of a shame. Obviously, you'd love to trade up and get as high as you can, but I'm really satisfied from a fan's perspective with the way that's sort of played out. I think there's enough talent at 16 for us to satisfy our needs, and deeper in the draft, we'll be able to get someone. We'll be able to get another player as well who will be just as good, hopefully. But I'm quite content with the way it's all panned out, and the way we've been able to keep our future picks for the next couple of years as well.
Yeah, no, that's the big one, I think, of holding on to our future picks as well. So we've seen over the last couple of years, pick up the phone FC, we've asked a question on a few big names, and hopefully we can actually land one in the next couple of years and sort of get a big fish over. Probably looking at more of a Nazaya Wanganeen Malira in 2 years' time. That would be nice, but I don't know. Someone will pop out from somewhere, and hopefully we have a nice big go at them. And having a sort of plethora of picks over the next couple of years will definitely help that. But look, what we'll do with pick 16, there is obviously a few players that we've got, on our radar. I'm going to throw over to you, Christian. Did you want to go through defenders first? Did you want to do it by position, or did you want to just go from best available?
I'll just speak about the draft in its entirety first, and then I
Yeah.
can delve into the specific players that I've got my eye on, and the ones that I think will do are potentially looked at in this for the draft. All right, so obviously everyone's been quite aware that over the year the certain media narrative seems to be that it is a compromised draft. Look, yes, it is to be the case. There is a lot of father-son and academy tied talent, particularly at the top end of that first round. But I've looked at this crop for the last 2 years, and there is talent there. It's probably not in the spots that you want it, but there is enough talent here to be satisfied for Crows fans to address all of our list needs. Another thing is, like, the talent doesn't run too deep is another media narrative. That's just not true. There is some really good talent, particularly at this back end. I'm going to go into detail with a few players who I can't find a knock on. And if I'm saying that, it must mean they're a pretty good player, or someone else can find a knock on them. I don't know, but compared to if we are comparing it to last year's draft, I've got probably 6 or 7 of them would be able to contend for pick one this year. So I guess that's probably where most of the concern sort of stems from, is this year's draft is not as strong as last year's. But I'm fairly of the opinion that there's a lot of good players in this draft that showcase a lot of AFL attributes, and I'm really excited to be speaking about them. Particularly the South Australian talent who, for the first time since 2018, were crowned national champions. So that's a massive achievement for Bangers and the team. Obviously, 2018 was a pretty notable draft for South Australians from the Super Draft. Jack Lukosius, Isaac Rankin, of note, Connor Rosie, obviously. So if that crop is anywhere near as talented as this one, then South Australian fans should be pretty happy about the talent that's coming out of the state. So, big ups to Bangers and the team for winning the national championships when no one else thought we were a chance.
Yeah.
Well
So,
said.
obviously, pick 16, testament to where we finished in the season. Obviously, like I mentioned, it's not looking like we're going to trade up, but you just never know. Around the mark, and I'm going to go by positions first. So just defenders, midfielders, and forwards. Obviously, I think we're probably out of the range for a player like Sam Grill, Xavier Taylor, and Dill Patterson. They're probably way out of the reach. But the first player I do want to speak about is Josh Lindsay. So 183 centimetre halfback from Geelong Falcons. Leadership qualities are immense. He was captain of Vic Country, co-captain of Vic Country. He was the captain of Geelong Falcons, and he was captain of the skill team as well. Brilliant left footer, absolute dart of a player. Any time he gets the ball, really good run and gun. Brilliant left foot, great distributor. Like I said, he's one of the best kicks in the crop. His vision is brilliant. A very good penetrating kick. And as I said, he kicks targets, reads the ball really nicely in the air, so he has the ability to take an intercept mark, even though he's at 183. Best on ground in the AFL Academy game 2 against Coburg, so obviously an AFL Academy member. Really well driven, I've seen a few interviews of him, and he's got a really good head on his shoulders. I sort of see him as a bit of a Nazai Wanganeen-Miller type. I'm not saying he's him, but I'm saying there's definitely qualities in his game that have that remind you a lot of Nasaya. So obviously that left foot kick, which is his biggest strength, just glides in the air when he runs as well. But like his kicking is just so impressive. Anything he touches on that left foot just seems to hit a target to a contest. It's really penetrating, and it's so good to see. You look at that and you see shades, particularly when you have a Crow's lens on. You see, there's your Laird replacement. So I think I don't know if we make it as inside midfield at AFL level, but I think he's really good at halfback, potential outside midfield role on the wing. Only knock I've got on him is like he doesn't have a right foot, so obviously needs to improve his kicking in that regard, and probably doesn't have the athletic profile of others in the crop. Early on in the year, he was probably a top 10 lock, but has fallen back in the realm of things. But I think if he's there, he's someone you definitely have to consider at 16.
There is a big knock on him that I'm reading right now that's just a bit of a meme, but it's a genuine concern I hold. Geelong Grammar, Geelong Falcons. Don't like that. Just the Geelong link just scares me.
I've seen a few interviews with him. The way he speaks, really mature. Obviously, the captain of all three teams. Leadership qualities are immense. So I'm not too big on that go home factor. I think the Crows are building a pretty important culture that retains players, particularly under Nix's leadership. So it'll be really obviously everyone's feel free to have those concerns, but what I've seen at the football club throughout the last couple of years is a really strong culture in that regard.
Yeah,
we don't lose players because they don't want to be here.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. If he's on the club's draft board and he's available at that pick, you're taking him. You're not actually gonna balk at him because he's a Geelong product. It's just more of I don't know. I think I'm a bit stuck in that
No, I completely
be safe with the SA boys vibe. But
completely get what you mean. Well, that seems to be the strategy. That seems to be part of the strategy is to favour the South Australian talent. But
yeah,
personally, I think Josh Lindsay's a proper player. He'll be a fantastic player at AFL level, and I'm really excited to see what he can bring at the next level.
Just quickly, I know what your answer's going to be, Dom, so I want you to stay out of this one. Would you rather a left-footer or a right-footer? Because I feel like left-footers got way more aura than what a right-footer does. Would you agree with me?
I don't care what foot. Just honestly execute. Just execute.
I think
execution's the most important skill you can teach. If they can execute the ball and penetrate, then you got a player. It doesn't matter.
I just feel like the aura of a left footer though is just so
dual-footed players. I prefer dual-footed players. Can you both feet? Mate, get on the list ASAP.
Yeah, the only reason left footers have any kind of advantage is because if the oppo hasn't done their research, most of the time they're going to block the right foot kick, not the left foot, so it's easier to get round sometimes. But I'm a left footer, so I think we're better. But
yeah, I was going to say that's why I told you to stay the fuck out of it.
Well, we just look cleaner when we kick the ball. That's all there is to it. It's a smoother, more natural action.
Shut up, pussy.
The best kicks.
The last thing I'll say on Josh Lindsay, obviously, if you're going to compare him to a player, I really think he plays a bit like Jarman Impey, Carl Aim on that sort of type of halfback. Obviously, I compared him to Naz, but real accurate kick, gun off halfback. Can use his leg speed to drive the ball forward. I'd love it if he kicked a few more goals, but it's obviously a bit hard from halfback unless you're like Nasai and you play through the midfield. But look, his potential landing spot, Unfortunately, I've got a feeling he goes just before us, but if he's there, like he's pretty close to the top, if not on the top of my talent list.
I like that.
Yeah. So you've got here potential landing spots of Richmond, Melbourne, Essendon, Hawthorn, Dogs, or Geelong. So you think he goes within that top 12? Is that what you're,
Yeah,
sort of putting him?
I think his. I wrote that a little bit while ago, unfortunately, but at the start of the year, I would have had him as a top 5 lock, but just the way things have panned out, it's looking like his region will probably start at that Hawthorn pick, and will probably end at that Dogs pick that's just before us. I'd love to land him. I'd absolutely love to land him, but whatever happens, happens. It'll be really interesting to see what happens on the night. Whoever gets him is going to have an absolute quality player.
Yeah. No. Agree. I haven't seen much of him, as I said to you before. I think there's only about 4 or 5 boys that I sort of follow closely from this crop. But going off of that, if we get him, that would be huge. We'll go on to Jacob Farrow here. What are your opinions on him, mate?
Yeah, so 180 centimetre midfield half back, from West Perth, Western Australia. Look, Jordan Dawson clone. Brilliant left foot.
Dude.
Nice long kick. Mould of Jordan Dawson, Hayden Young. Started off at halfback, then moved into the midfield for West Perth. Obviously, rebound defender, so takes a lot of kick-ins. He's had experience at senior league level for West Perth. A lot of uncontested possessions, but averages about 25 touches at Colts level, and had about 19 touches average with Western Australian National Championships. Not afraid to fend off, go through the midfield at stoppages, uses his body really well, likes taking the ball forward, really good kicking action, great running from traffic as well. Great ability to defend the ball, has a good marking ability, particularly when he's controlling his back line at half-back, and can run through traffic as well. Oh, I think I just said that, runs through traffic. And yeah, not afraid to take an intercept mark. So you look at his athletic profile and you think he's just another Jordan Dawson from half-back with that potential to play in a midfield role. Really, really solid player. Another one with leadership qualities, obviously, as the captain of West Perth. And also had a leadership role with Western Australia in the national championships. Big bolter, so probably wasn't in top 10 calculations at the start of the year, but put together a really consistent and positive year that saw him bolt up the order. So, yeah, another one with Josh Lindsay, who I probably can't see making to the pick. I think there's talk with Essendon taking that pick number 9. That might be the play they're looking at targeting. But obviously, I think everyone would love another Jordan Dawson-esque play on the list.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it would be. Look, it would be nice, wouldn't it? If you have fucking 2 Jordan Dawsons running around, you're in a pretty good spot, I think.
Yeah, I read that and was pretty sold, but yeah, if he's not going to be available, not much we can do about it. But it's so, I think it's such a big draw card to players that can run through traffic well. I think it just reads and looks so much better than a lot of other skill sets. I think being clean in traffic and hitting up targets is just, it just draws you in so much more than other traits, and I think I don't necessarily know if it's something we 100% need, but like we just said, if he's a Jordan Dawson clone, you're never going to turn your nose up at that, are you?
No. You just wouldn't. But this next bloke that you've got here is one that sort of jumps off the page at me that I'm quite keen on. Break Thedgold. He's a South Australian boy. Plays out at Sturts. 194 centimetres. What are your thoughts on him, Christian?
Oh yeah, well, hands down, probably the best South Australian defender in this year's crop. Intercept marker, but obviously plays key defence for Sturt. But I think at AFL level, he'd be a real solid intercept marking sort of type of defender, just like Josh Roll. I think he's got that sort of framework about him. Unfortunately, his year was hampered by a tiny bit of injury, so he missed out on most of the games and national championships. But in terms of his, defending ability, reads the ball really well in the air, jumps really high, great aerial ability, and then one-on-one, he's really solid as well. Very difficult to beat. Obviously, was named best on ground in the under 18s grand final, and that's a testament to the work that he's done over the year. Had his, had his opponent in an absolute blender that day. And I guess loves taking the. I saw another interview with him. He absolutely loves taking the best defender. So taking the best forward. So had done a spectacular job throughout the season when he was playing on shutting down forwards like Marsh and Schubert. Very daring when he gets the ball in space. When instead of attacking, isn't afraid to go forward. Loves taking the game on, and it's just like a Josh Wall.
Yeah.
I think at AFL level he could probably take kick-ins as well. He's got that ability about him. Really composed and, like I said, comfortable moving the ball forward. Really quick off the mark. So, when he takes an intercept, he likes to go, go, go. And when he does, he is really composed in doing so. And, his combine results are a testament to his athletic ability. 3 top 10 finishes. He was 7th in the 20-metre sprint. Equal 8th in the standing vertical jump and equal 4th in the running vertical jump. So, if that doesn't scream quality South Australian defender, then I don't know then I don't know I don't know what does. Really, really promising. Obviously played as a junior, as a ruck forward, so he has that sort of experience about him as well. I don't think he'll play there at AFL level, but does have that level of versatility about him. And obviously, if he were on the Crows, I think he'd be a really solid option as a key developing key defender. Obviously, with the likes of Keane, Murray, Butts, Borlace as the options we've got now, he'd provide some pretty quality depth to our backline.
Yeah, no, it would be a huge get, I think. Sort of looking at it from a position as well, if Butts was to leave next year, like there was rumours that he was going to go this year, where there's smoke, there's normally fire. So if he was to leave next year, and then, James Borlace is a really big chance to be delisted as well. If you have a a kid who's second year, maybe ready to make the step up from there, it would be good. It would be very, very nice, ready-made replacement to sort of come forward. So if we get him, I'd be over the moon. I'd be stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think he's in the range.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's another bit of a bolter. Obviously, North Melbourne were pretty keen on having another defender, and if the word going around is they've sort of traded up, with that Carlton pick to get ahead of us for Threadies. That might be the way they go, but yeah, he would definitely be around the mark, I feel. And I'm with the talent that surrounds pick 16. I'm relatively okay with, like, in previous years in draft, I've been real stuck on one particular player. That's not the case this year. I'm really open to the talent that surrounds the pick. Whereas in previous years, I've been real stuck on one certain player that I want and hopefully get. But yeah, I'd really love to see Fred Gold play the list. Obviously, as a Crows fan as well, so that's another tick in the box.
That's a huge one. The only downfall that he did play for Sturt and had to put up with those cronies out there, fucking unreal.
I'll cry about it more, mate.
No, it's all good.
Dylan, the Sturt fan, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's a big show of his character to put up with a few of the types that are on that hill out there. So well done to Blake.
The Sturt was a Sturt fan.
Like senior footy, I don't think they rock up to 18s games.
No, Paul McKenzie loves going to 18s games. What are you talking about? He's the only one there beating on the fence, but
all sorts of profanities out the 18s, and as our good mate Paul Birdsey would say, the under 16s is where it matters, and the under 18s is where it matters. He couldn't give a fuck about the league. So moving forward, we've got we've got another defender here, out of Eastern Rangers, 182 centimetres, go by the name of Oscar Taylor. Is there a little bit more about him?
Yeah, so big bolter, big bolter. Didn't make the Vic Metro squad this year, but has had so many consistent performances in the Coates League. Is named in the best 9 of his 17 games this year. He's worked really hard to get into position to get drafted. Probably the quickest player in the crop, fastest 20-metre sprint at the combine, and second fastest agility test at the combine as well. Another left footer, another really good to execute. Another really good player that has a really good execution rate. Really nice with the ball. A Knicks type player that I've written here, prioritises defense first, then attacks. Works hard to be very accountable at both ends. His kicking's great. Probably not as good as Lindsay's, but it's obviously his biggest point of difference. Athleticism, composure, applies pressure on 1v1s. He can tackle, but will probably need to improve his contested game and overall strength as he makes his way into the league. But he loves pushing the ball up the ground and really smart with his decision making. So for me, the way I see this is, I think he'll be around the mark again. It's more so of where does this player sort of fit in the line of the Edwards and Oscar Ryan development, So is he a player that will, I don't want to say hinder their development, but
Affect it. I know what you mean. Like,
is he an upgrade on what we currently have?
yeah.
Because I sort of view him as the second best halfback in the open pool, and I'm not of what we're able to get. I'm not really including Sam Grill or
Don Patterson and stuff.
Patterson and that. So his speed and his kicking is his best point of difference. Very similar to Lindsay in his execution stuff, but different players not two different players overall, but probably not as complete as Josh Lindsay. So yeah, where does he fit is probably the next question I've got around. Is he best suited towards the Crows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the big question mark, sort of going off of the draft a little bit, is Edwards and Oscar Ryan. There's a lot that will, I think, take shape this season of those boys and where they sort of sit after this season. I think both of them are out of contract end of season. Is that right?
Edwards and Ryan are, yes. And,
yes.
In fact, I think that's I'm glad you brought that up, because I think this is a really big year for over a quarter of the list who are out of contract. So Justin Reid has a really big job next year recontracting these players and see who we want to keep on, because, like I said, over a quarter of the list is out of contract and they're due for some big years. And a lot of those players are either on the fence of that start in 23 or in the sample team. So really big year for some of those players.
Yeah, and I might even go as far as to say, I know both are, quite highly touted over the last couple of years, that I think only one of Edwards or Ryan survives. That's,
It wouldn't shock me. Which will be funny. I think there will be a few Twitter meltdowns over, especially Charlie Edwards. If Charlie Edwards is the one that doesn't make it, I think Twitter will be a very fun place to be on that day. I don't.
If Charlie Edwards could run more than one way, it would be fine. He's just got no defensive positioning at all. He's got nothing. It's just and it's a hard watch sometimes. It really is a hard watch. Like, whatever, he's accumulated the ball and all of that sort of stuff, but he hasn't done much with it. Like, I was calling for him to sort of come in as early in the season, but I sort of faded off from that pretty quickly. I'd say I would have watched 70% of sample games, and what I saw, I didn't see much two-way running, and I think that's probably what really cost him a go this year. But Oscar Ryan, he was out for a little bit, had his broken jaw, but at the start of the season, Matty Nick said he was a young Gavin Wanganeen, which is just an outrageous call.
I think they've got high expectations of Ryan compared to Edwards, but I don't know. Charlie Edwards is so, if he can figure out his defensive accountability. I think we've got a player on our hands, but if he's just going to be a downhill skier, then yeah, writing's on the wall, I think, at the end of the year, which, again, like I just said, it'll be an entertaining few days on Twitter, but yeah, I think you're right. I think it might only be one of them that survives, especially depending on how we go, like, recruitment-wise towards the end of the year, and like, even
Yeah.
with Nank coming, like, I don't think Nank's out of contract, but even he probably hasn't come along how we'd want him to, in a similar-ish role, like wing halfback. There's a lot of potential on the list that I don't think we've quite seen yet, that they're definitely running out of time, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need Nank to stop frequencing backyard and get on the track a little bit more. That's my opinion of him. But we'll move on from that.
So Nankervis is 2027.
Yeah, so
out of contract.
he's
So
safe
he's
for a
fine.
bit.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll move on to midfielders now, and there's a few names here that really jump off the page, and they're some going to be some very good football players out of his crop, I think. And the first one, the big one, for South Aussies, and a lot of people on Twitter have been going absolutely ham over this. Probably since end of last year, we've been seeing people say trade up, and we're talking about Dyson Sharp here. Central's boy, 187 centimetre midfielder. He's a weapon. He's an absolute star. It's going to be hard to get to him though. But tell us a little bit more about him, Bassani.
Yeah, I couldn't go without mentioning Dyson Sharp. Without a doubt, I've been covering the draft for the last 6 or 7 years, I'd say. And I have not seen. Well, he's up there with one of the best talents I've ever seen. Best talent in the country, incredibly decorated junior career. He's won everything. You name it, any individual accolade, this kid has won it. We all know how good Dyson Sharp is. Lark medalist, 2-time All-Australian, national champions All-Australian, scholarship award winner, under 16s best, under 16s MVP, under 16s BOG in the grand final. Literally
Everything.
everything this kid has won. Stood off the page for me when he had 52 touches in under 16s game.
Oh my God.
So this was 2 years ago, and I could not believe what I was witnessing. This kid is just incredible with everything he does on the field. And obviously, at 16 years old, with all due respect to Dyson, he was probably a bit bigger bodied in terms of what other midfielders were competing against him. So obviously he stood out in that regard. But his averages over the years have been impeccable, obviously now. But in regards to this year, the 2 games at under 18s level, because he's been playing senior level. Because as a recruiter once told me, playing 18s, these kids playing 18s is a bit of a waste of time. They need to be playing senior level footy in their final underage year as much as they can. So obviously he's been playing at senior level for Central Districts, and obviously debuted in the 2024 season for the senior team. 27 touches, averaging at national champs this year, that saw him win the Lark medal, and you can just see why he dominates against kids his own age. Strong, contested first possession midfielder who clears the ball out of congestion. Really clean with his disposal. His execution is great. His running is great. He's got the ability to go forward and kick goals and make an impact. His leadership is immense. SA captain, Central Districts co-captain with Matt Leray. And I've got no doubt he'll be an AFL captain in the not too distant future. The only knock you probably have on him is his outside game, which, credit to Dyson, was actually one of his goals for this year when he had his meeting with Bangers. So he wanted to improve his outside game and improve his lack of versatility, because before then he was just pretty much pure midfield with a bit of forward time. his level of accumulation is just so impressive. At every level he's played. I mean, he doesn't look out of shape at senior level either. So credit to Dyson to fixing his vulnerabilities and his weaknesses in his game. You've got an incredibly well spoken and self driven individual. Whoever gets him, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like the Crows are going to nab him. But it would be an absolute dream if Justin Reid could pull off something to get this kid, because this is probably the only player in this draft who I can actually see be a Brownlow medalist.
Gee,
Do you think
that's
is there any like 1 in 500 chance that there's a trade on the table to get to him, or do you think it's too far beyond?
I think in terms of trading, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of luck if he slips. You need to pray that someone that club doesn't rate him as highly as we do.
He won't fall out the top 10 even regardless of the academy bids though.
No.
Will he? Like he's a lock for.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
there is no chance that he gets to 16.
No. Oh no, he won't. No, we'll have to trade up. But that's the thing. I can't see where. What pick we would be able to get to for him to be there, because I feel like he's almost a lock to go to Essendon at that pick 7 if he's still there.
Yeah, so I think that's the way it's probably panning out to Essendon. What I don't have intel, but I've got a fairly decent educated idea, and that's only because of articles that have been posted through journalists.
Yeah.
I guess the knock on Dyson is how much of his game actually translates to AFL level. Because I think there's a few concerns whether he's not quick enough, or if he's too one-dimensional, or if, like I said before with Matt Crouch, is that first possession base clearance accumulator midfielder dying out of the game? Is the game moving in a different direction? In regards to those type of midfield players.
I think you always need one. I think you always need one first possession ball, but I think the days of having 3 of them in there are definitely gone. Like where you just have accumulators, but yeah, I get what you mean. I personally think, especially I don't know, the Essendon one kind of confuses me in terms of he's the best available, so you take him. And Zach Merritt's probably going to leave. To be fair, I'm talking myself out of this right now. But I think it's always going to be a need. But I guess if the AFL recruiters and coaches are going the other way, then you can't really argue with that, can you? But I don't know. I can't envision footy without having a midfielder like that, because otherwise if it's a contested game, if it's wet, and all you've got is these silky outside midfielders, you're gonna get bullied. I mean, we basically didn't. It wasn't even wet in the finals, so.
But look, at the end of the day, his ability to win the ball, particularly in those contested situations, is second to none. It's freakishly level of behaviour to be able to do that and execute. And it's he uses the ball well too. It's not like he's dump kicking out to space or to a contest. He's using the ball and he's executing, which is to executing to teammates going forward, and he uses it so smartly.
Yeah. Which I think that's
why I think his biggest point of difference, and this is why he's been such a decorated player throughout his juniors, and not to mention how strong he is as well. His strength and his athletic profile is really good. Obviously, would prefer probably a tiny bit of leg speed if he can improve his leg speed. But I can't stress enough how good and consistent this kid has been throughout the last 3 years I've been watching him.
Yeah. He's about to say he's been on your radar for even last year. Before,
you can look at the chat. Type in Dyson Sharp in the chat, and you'll see messages from 2023.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You've been on him for so long that there was, we were having conversations about making sure we had a pick there year and a half ago. So obviously it hasn't panned out that way, and that's probably a good thing given you want the club to succeed. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we'll just have to
We'll
pray
have
to
to,
God Justin
yeah.
Reid and Hamish Ogilvy are cooking up something.
I guess you have to sort of hope there's a bit of go home factor about that, but I
Oh,
don't
but
know. I think he's too professional for that.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Everything I've seen of him and what you've said, it seems like wherever he goes, he's gonna stay unless he gets like the flick because it doesn't translate or whatever. I can't see him leaving wherever he goes. Seems like he's got his head screwed on too tight, and he's gonna just gonna put his head down and work, and he's not gonna worry about where he is.
Yeah,
But
no. Apparently, he's a really good kid. There's a couple people that I work with. Their sons are best mates with Dyson. And apparently he's just an absolute ripper kid. Like even just like when the girls see him around, he's so lovely, he's so welcoming. So it's good to know that he's got a good head on his shoulders and not an arrogant asshole like one of the blokes we're about to speak about. But anyway, we're gonna move on. We're not talking about that arrogant asshole quite yet. But next bloke, another SA boy, Sam Cumming, 184, out of North Adelaide. Do we rate him? Sort of around our pick. Can he get to us, Pisani?
Unfortunately, not. I think he's in that. I think he's in that Essendon Melbourne realm. But I do want to speak about him because he's South Australian and one of my personal favourites as well. Has the ability to play inside out and forward. I think he'll be really, really good in a wing to start off his career. But he's a bit of a Heaney type. I see shades of Sloan in him as well. A really well balanced and dynamic player who can impact in both areas. Really composed when he has the ball and he uses it well. Had some really consistent performances over the last couple of years for North Adelaide and was able to be elevated to their senior team this year. And unfortunately, he was ruled out for the last couple of games through injury when he injured his shoulder against that game versus Central Districts that I was at. But yeah, and also heavy leadership roles in that 18s role for North Adelaide and South Australia. So a really good Heaney-esque Sloan type player. But I think he was short out of reach. That's why I didn't write too much about him because I expect Essendon or Melbourne to pounce on him.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Would be nice if we get to him, but I just don't think he's going to be available. But anyway, we'll move on. This bloke I've been huge on. I love him. I want him. This is who I'd love to get, and I'm talking about Ollie Greaves, 191 centimetre midfielder from Eastern Rangers. Oh, he's an absolute weapon of a player. He's very good. Followed him for a little bit. Probably not as heavily as what you have, Christian, but I sort of pointed him out at the start of a season to you and said, this is who I want. And he proved why sort of towards the end of the season, didn't he? He went absolutely crazy. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
I'll ask a quick question quickly. Is he the one that Hawthorn tried to get in their NGA that got denied?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just an incredible body of work for Ollie Greaves. Obviously stands out at 191 centimetres. Yeah, any big body midfielder you look at and you sort of think, wow, there's your Cripps type, there's your Bont type. But, Grave is a first possession clearance type player, real quick hands to the outside, particularly at stoppages and at centre bounce. 25.5 average disposals in the Coates League for Eastern Rangers. And he averaged 25 in the national champs for Vic Metro, who was actually, 25 average disposals was the second most behind the one and only Dyson Sharp. But, you look at this is what the biggest strengths of Ollie Greaves. Knows how to find the ball, takes the lead at stoppages and centre bounces because he's got the ability to win the contested ball and go forward. Such a great body of work over the last 2 years for Eastern Rangers. Big booming kick, wants to get the ball quickly as possible. Obviously, co-captain of Vic Metro and Eastern Rangers as well, which he won the flag for this year in the Coates League. And he was also named the Vic Metro MVP at national championships. The thing I like about Ollie Graves is that he's also got the ability to go forward and provide as a marking target. And when he does, always takes the ball at the highest point. And his ground balls are really good for someone that's 191 centimeters. And when he does play forward, like I said, he's a marking target. And he can impact the scoreboard. Obviously, in that prelim against GWV, he pretty much won the game for Eastern in the third quarter when he kicked 4 goals on the straight. And he had 35 touches that game as well. So how you doing? And then in the grand final a week later, he had 24 and a goal. And Eastern absolutely demolished anyone in that finals campaign, which was a really big achievement for them. I've got a bit of a knock on Ollie Greaves. Sometimes when he takes the ball out of midfield, and when he uses his legs to run, he sort of absorbs. How does he? So he absorbs the tackle instead of trying to fending off. He tries to get the handball away, and I think if he can improve that sort of polish to his game, and take advantage of his big body, because I feel like he doesn't realise how big and strong he is. So I think if he can improve that of his game, it would be really, really, really good. Obviously, right footer probably needs to improve the work he does on his left, but he can use it when he wants to. And just general execution and polish, I think his intent with the ball was really nice. However, it does sort of lead to a few wasted possessions and a few turnovers. Tiny bit slow to transition to defending. And I think that's what the main concern that AFL clubs has about him. But I don't think we should overlook at what he does well. Look, there aren't many players in this crop that can win the ball at contested level like Graver does. And I think if you focus on the positives about him, you can work with your weaknesses. He's got the body to play AFL from round one, but I don't think he would. I think you'd be sending him to the Wolves. I think he needs to learn a bit how to use his body well, like I said, and get used to those AFL big body midfielders, because he's not the only one that's going to be 191 in that midfield at AFL level. So if he gets used to that and improves on that, particularly in his first year, I think you've got a really, really special talent at AFL level.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, sort of, as you said, the knock on that sort of defensive aspect, if you sort of feed him to the Wolves at round one, if he was to get to us, you might be a little bit disappointed when you've got Nathan Van Bella at the helm of that midfield mix. So good luck with that.
Oh, here we go.
Hopefully, playing that Knicks first type of game if he is to come here, can sort of help up that defensive positioning. But I'd be a little bit concerned him under Nathan Van Berlo, but we won't get into that right now.
Yeah, look, I fully expect him to be at the pick. It's a matter of if he's ranked best available. So I trust what Ogilvy's talent order goes like. I think long term, what does that look like from a midfield perspective? Obviously, I don't think a starting centre bounce of Greaves, Curtin and Dawson would be a very well balanced midfield.
Yeah.
But I sort of see Dawson as someone that can sort of play anywhere. And I hope by the time that Graves is in his, I don't want to say he's in his prime, but when he's established enough to be a full-time midfielder, Dawson might be not being pushed out of that midfield, but he might be in a different position on the ground. We saw him start up at half forward this year at centre bounce sometimes. We saw him drift forward there as well. Or is there potential for Jordan Dawson to go back to his half-back position that he started off with us with? So I think, look, long-term, it might be interesting to see where Greaves lands up in this midfield and how that sort of looks like. But I think there's a really, really scary prospect at AFL level that you're getting. So I know you're so big on him, Shrimp. Yeah, I know you're really big on him, and it'd
Yeah.
be pretty good for you if you to see Griever in Adelaide colours.
Yeah, no, if we get him, yeah, I'll be cracking a beer on Wednesday night. I'll fucking tell you that much. I really hope we get to him. I really hope we get to him. But we've got we've got a bloke here as well that has sort of been the last week. I think it came out a report that we're pretty big on him, and it's who we're looking at. And he goes by the name of Harley Barker. He's another SA boy. He's a winger out of Sturt. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL at the back end of this year, so he will miss a little bit of footy. Probably up until what halfway mark you'd say
No, I think
of
maybe just over halfway.
yeah
Yeah,
of
I
the
think
season. So
They'll
he'll
be
play a couple of games at Sanford level next year
they'll
if we
be
do draft him. Yeah.
they'll be real careful with a young player as well that's torn an ACL. They won't rush him back at all. It's not going to be like they're going to like if he needs more time. You're almost better erring on the side of caution and giving him more time than you think when they're that young. But again, might not matter if he's not at our club. Who cares?
yeah,
But
yeah. But this kid, I haven't seen much sort of talk about. He sort of hopped off, hopped off and off of the page at the as I say end of last week, saying the Crows are looking at him. Has he been playing real good footy before his ACL, Christian, or has he sort of been that sort of has he been a bit of a bolter? What's the go with him?
Oh no, he's always been a highly rated prospect. Dare I say the ACL's hindered his chances. I think he's all but certain to be a top 10 prospect. At the start of the year, yeah, really highly rated. Obviously, made the AFL Academy. I find him as a really complete player already. So what you see is what you get with Harley Barker. Old school type of wingman, elite running ability, great speed, works both ways, and that's probably his biggest strength is his work rate, and that's why I think he'd be really suited towards the Crows because you know how much Matthew Nicks values that sort of work rate. Wants the ball on the outside and often positions himself away from the contest so he can get that outside ball and run up the wing forward. Run and carry is great. Foot skills is great. Executes really well with the ball. Does all the simple things. Doesn't overcomplicate it and rarely gets caught in the trouble. He can come back and defend as well, like I said, when his work rate and be that last man and sort of set the field up how he wants to. So he's able to take that leadership. I'd love to see him hit the scoreboard a bit more. Not the greatest set shot or kick for goal. And he's also not the biggest ball winner. Only averaged the 16 touches at national championships. But I think what you see is what you get with Harley Barker. He's a really complete player already. And unfortunately, the torn ACL is going to potentially hinder his development over the next year or so. But he's someone I'd really consider at 16. And talent-wise, he's really tough to split with the likes of Lindsay, Graver, Farrow, and that lot, and a few other boys that I'm going to speak about soon. Yeah.
Yeah, now I really wouldn't be surprised if he is drafted to us. But I think the only concern I'd say would be that ACL at a young age, and you're not going to see much of him probably for another 2 seasons. Well, next season, probably the season after is when you'd really see him in the senior side. So that's probably the side of it that people would be a little bit disappointed about. But if he's got to be that top end talent, then you don't mind waiting that year or two, as we've sort of seen the last couple of years with Curtin and Draper. All right, the next bloke. I sort of touched on him before. He fucking.
he's a big personality.
I'm a 25-year-old bloke sitting here talking shit about a fucking 17, 18-year-old kid. It just isn't. It's not the best look, but god damn, this boy's got a mouth that can talk. Obviously, I'm talking about Jevon Philippou. You've all probably seen a little bit about what he said about the Crows and how he rates himself. He would pick himself and all this nonsense. I don't want him at the club.
Do you just want to address the comments now? Because
Yes.
I've got them written here.
Yeah.
So obviously Jevon Philippou, the brother of Mateus, and I don't know his father's name, but obviously his father played a bit of football at Port Adelaide in the Sandford team. So during the combine, Jevon Philippo was asked a question in regards to what team he supports. And this question was asked by a journalist at Fox Footy, which is, I really want to provide context that he was speaking to a journalist and not anyone in recruiting. Still doesn't make the comments he made any acceptable or anything like that. But when he was asked about the team that he supports, he replied with, obviously he supports Sydney for some reason I didn't actually read, and he obviously likes St Kilda because of his brother Matthias. But he also went on to say this, which has obviously caught the attention of quite a lot of Crows fans. He said, apart from that though, I'd pick Port over the Crows for sure. I just don't like the Crows. Honestly, I don't like them at all. Dad played a bit of sample for Port as well, so that might be a part of it. Now, I'll put my 2 cents here. I don't understand why you would even say that
Yeah.
to a journalist
I
at a draft combine.
yeah. It doesn't. Like Crow's glasses off, and just looking at it from like a footy fan point of view. Why? Like that doesn't.
Matthias said
I
the same
don't
sort of
get
shit
it.
as well. They're both dickheads.
From
They're both
memory,
idiots.
Matthias said that he likes both clubs, but he would pick, if he had a
Yeah, he
choice,
had to pick
he would
Port.
pick Port.
Yeah,
Um,
that I'm okay with. Like,
I,
but
I look,
saying
I don't understand what goes through. I don't look whether he actually believes that or not is different. I've got no idea if he's actually saying what he actually thinks, or if this is just for attention, or what the deal is. But to say that at a draft combine when you know the Crows are interested in you, by the way, you know you're around the pick, you know you're around the mark. I don't want to say that's draft tampering because it's not, because he's not refusing to go there. He's just saying he doesn't like them as a fan. Now, whether he says that in his interview, which I would assume, most people there get probably interviewed by the Crows. They interview so many players every year. Whether he actually keeps that energy when he's face to face with Justin Reid, Hamish Ogilvie, and the team is a different story.
there's not a
But it still
chance.
doesn't make the comments any acceptable to say that to a journalist.
I just
They
don't
won't
think
pick him.
I
They
don't think
won't
it
pick him.
reads well outside of South Australia either. I think it's a very bad look in general to be making
It's just a
comments like that.
professionalism thing. It's a professionalism thing. Like, pull your head in. Like, at the same time, this kid has uploaded his own highlights package to his personal YouTube channel.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be 100% real here. Again, taking off the Crow's glasses, kind of funny. like, like we can do the whole it's poor professionalism and stuff, but it's kind of funny. Like, and I think he probably just didn't. It's a journalist. He probably just didn't think about what he was saying and just said what came to mind. Which you could have articulated it better, but again, I don't know. I don't think it reads well still, but
I think I can.
it's a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid. I think you got to.
I think the worst part is that honestly, I don't like them at all. Which is I think that's the most concerning part.
Yeah,
of
that's
it.
a bad.
He's not
He
only
doubled
said,
down on it. Yeah.
And the thing is, I really rate this kid. Like,
Yeah, he's good.
he's
very good.
mate. He could genuinely be like a Petrarca Horn-Francis type of midfielder. Like, and I think that's maybe what the Crows are missing. Sid Draper's great in the terms of getting the ball forward, quick from stoppage, but being able to impact on the scoreboard both in midfield and forward, I think that's what Jevon can bring to the Crows if he was picked up, or at any AFL side if he was picked up. Obviously not as tall as his brother at 183, but he averaged 22.7 disposals at under 18s level, 70% efficiency, 9 goals in 9 games for the 18s, and 2 goals in 6 games at league level, including a massive big bomb from 50 metre plus. So that just shows to what he can do up forward, and dual-footed as well. kicks very well off both feet. You know, this is the X factor we're potentially missing.
Yeah. Would you, if he's available at that pick, which he might not be, do you think? Obviously, there's stuff behind the scenes. We don't actually know what was said in the interview or anything. For all we know, it's the club's moved on already, but it surely harmed his chances a little bit. Like, do you reckon the club would still pick him if he's there, based on his talent, or do you reckon that has kind of?
I don't know. Like that's a
They
question.
won't take him.
That's a question for Reid and Ogilvy to consider.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see a reason why he would keep that same energy when this kid is trying to fulfill his dream of getting drafted. You know, he wants to be on the AFL list. Would he keep the same energy to an actual recruitment team?
It'd be interesting to find out what was said in that meeting, if it's happened yet or whatever. But like, if they've actually brought it up with him, or if it was just a pretend we don't know about it situation, or
Yeah,
it'd be love to be a fly on the wall in that one, but
like I said, he's very athletic, great marking ability. You know, burst from stoppage is great. Really good clean hands and ground ball gets. Evasive and agile as well. A really, really big point of difference I feel could add to his game at AFL level. Only knock on him is obviously his attitude and that whether he actually believes what he said about the football club. But you know, it's his defensive running. If he can be defensively accountable as well and learn that, I think he'd be a really good player at AFL level. And so, look, I'm honestly, even taking the comments into consideration, I'd still be happy to take him.
yeah, right.
But it's yeah.
I suppose you don't want to
That's
leave.
for the club. That's for the club to figure out.
You don't want to leave talent on the table, and I guess he's gonna try and back in your culture to retain him, even if he has those thoughts. I guess you back it in to change his mind, and
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of Port Adelaide fans on our list.
yeah,
Potentially, maybe.
no, there'd have to be one. There's always one,
Yeah.
but all right. Well, we might move on to the forwards then. We'll try and get through these because we're very aware we've been going for a while already. So we'll jump right in if you're ready, Christian.
Yeah, so the first one I'm going to name is Lockie Doverston, 178 small forward from the Eastern Ranges, hands down the best small forward in the crop. 53 goals across all competitions this season. Could have been more, but his accuracy was a bit of a letdown at times. Only one goalless game in the Coates League. 7.7 seconds in his agility test at the National Draft Combine, which is the fourth best agility test in combine history.
Jeez.
So you look at this player and you're thinking he even looks like a bit like Nick Watson. You're getting a Nick Watson clone, but a bit taller. I find he's a brilliant runner, great pressure forward when he needs to be, and can defend inside forward 50. Played at Hawks VFL this year and looked really good at the level. I thought he was really impressive against the bigger bodies, and it didn't seem to dishearten him in the slightest. Elite goal sense, does the team thing, involves his teammates and scores. Really agile, as I've mentioned, can move up the ground. Sometimes seen at half back and makes his way forward during transition. Impacts the play and has some really good positioning in that parts. If he finds our way to our pick, he's someone I'd definitely consider taking. Best small forward in the crop.
Is he a must take if he's there, or are you still taking Greaves and Barker over him?
I've got him in my talent order. I've got Doverston ahead of those two. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. Be interesting if you do take him a sort of where he slots in though. Like we're so stacked.
That was the only thing I was thinking. Like,
it's not a list need, but he's definitely best available.
Yeah, I suppose if
Dan Curtin wasn't a list need, and he still found his way.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess if they've said they're going to take best available, they'll take best available, and if he's there, then you're not going to doubt him. We've got a pretty good record of recent drafts as well, so never going to doubt them.
Next kid that we've got here, he's just a Steelthorpe clone. This kid's an absolute weapon. Aiden Schubert, another SA boy, big key forward from Centrals. He's an absolute star, isn't he?
Yeah, he's another one I've seen from under 16 onwards, and I'm thinking this guy's going to be the next best thing from South Australia. Incredible talent. 28 goals from 13 games for Centrals this year, and 10 goals in 4 games for the South Australian Under 18 Championships. Was rewarded with a debut in his finals. Was awarded with a Centrals League debut in finals, where he kicked a goal from 8 touches against Norwood. And that was off the back of a really impressive reserve debut where he kicked 3 goals in that game as well. And then in his under-16s year, where he's massively impressive, 44 goals from 11 games.
Oh my god!
He had a game where he kicked 8 in a prelim final, and then a few weeks earlier he kicked 9 of his team's 12 goals. And I remember seeing that game live, and I'm thinking, what on earth have we got on our hands? Great forward craft, can play at a target man, lead up forward, works nice up the ground. His mobility is his best. His mobility is probably his point of difference, as well as his athleticism. A bit like Phil Thorpe, where he can run for days. He had a really impressive 2K time trial. And what I like about Schubert as well is that this year he's made some pretty heavy strides in the ruck. Played a full game in the ruck this year at 18s level and looked really good as well. Very nice tap work. Bit of an awkward kicking action. Looks a bit lanky. Swings his leg, tries to get beat the ball.
Oh god, something about funny kicking actions that just murders me.
Yeah, he's very interesting. He positions his hands at the top of the ball when he's kicking for goal. Look, it works for him, so I can't cop it too much, but sometimes looks a bit rushed. Needs to be a bit more composed. Usually a good decision maker, but he could have a Phil Thorpe like trajectory. There's a lot of potential with him, and certainly caught my eye a few years ago when he was kicking bags and bags and bags for Central 16s.
Yeah, and just a quick one as well. He might be for a few more years, but his brother Jackson, he's only 14. But he is an absolute fucking weapon as well. He plays out north. He plays with my brother out at Centrals. As of next year, he'll be 14s. But this kid is a weapon. I think he played something like 21 games last season. Was best on in 20 of them. Like, that was a genuine stat. The kid is a freak as well. So there's something in the genes out there. I'm telling you, there's something in the water of the Schuberts, because I think there's going to be 2 of them running around playing AFL football soon.
Yeah,
I go. Might have 2 of them on the list.
Yeah, watch out for his brother Jackson over the next few years. Like, he'll play 14s at Centrals this year, but he's already tall. He's already like 6 foot, and he's fucking 14 years old. He was playing under 16s this season as a 13-year-old.
Wow.
The bloke's a weapon. The kid's a weapon. So that's just to watch this space as well. Got another South Aussie, Mitch Marsh, goes after the name of cricketer as well. Played out at West Adelaide. Son of 98 Premiership player Ben Marsh, and he's actually the current Crows physio as well, and he's a Crows fan. So if he slides to us, do we take him?
So when Kautwumi drops his phantom draft tomorrow, this is the name I expect to be on the list next to the Crow selection. I'm pretty certain, if the way it goes, he's going to be a Crow in a couple of days' time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's just my read on it. That's not intel. That's just my read on it. That's the way I think the draft is shaping out. I think it's going to be Mitch Marsh.
Well, based on these notes, I'm not necessarily against that. Bloody hell.
No, go on, Don.
I was just going to say, like, a key forward is, he's not really key, actually. He's probably a bit short to be classified a key forward, but it just goes back to what I kept saying before about an inside mid. Surprises me that it doesn't surprise me. I shouldn't say surprise that they're targeting a forward, but I don't know. I feel like if Greaves is there, you're better off taking him. But I guess we heard not a couple of hours ago. They're going to take best available. So
Oh, look, I think any 191 big body midfielder is much more attractive than a 191 centimeter tall forward.
yeah,
So I think, on the if you take the eye test, Graves is probably a bit more visually appealing compared to Mitch Marsh, but I think what Mitch Marsh could provide for the team in the future, I think he could be a really solid part of our future. Just a bit about him: booming left foot kick, really mobile in the way he can get up the ground, moves away from his opponent quickly, makes him really hard to defend. He had an absolute day in the national championships on Harry Dean, made him look so silly, and
cop
he's
that Carlton.
absolutely embarrassed him. Probably his best game of the season. But obviously, 191 centimeters, you can make him quite versatile. Not big enough to ruck, obviously, but big enough to push him out to a wing, potentially play that link up forward role that Tom Lynch used to play a couple of years ago, and I know that's been in the works for a couple of years now, trying to get that sort of player up forward. But his running capacity is really good. 8th best 2 kilometre time trial at the combine. Also ranked top 10 for running vertical jump test. 30 goals in 15 games for the 18s this season, including 12 in the national champs. High level of score involvements, always looking to use his teammates, particularly around that 50 mark. Great forward craft, like I said, drags the defender up the ground, really good one-on-one. His bodywork and positioning's really good, and strong follow-ups as well. Can take a contested mark, which is what you want to see from a tall forward. He's got the ability to play tall and play small as well, so he's sort of, and all of his opponents are normally bigger than him, but just because he's so evasive, gets in front and he's able to take that mark. So that it's a testament to his athletic profile. Obviously, snaps on the left foot when he can. Tries to use that left foot as much as he can. If he can improve the work on that right, it would be great. Bit like a Jeremy Cameron type player, but a bit smaller. Has those tendencies to run around. Be a menace in that forward 50. Really quick off the mark, like Jezza as well. Can sometimes get a bit lost playing in multiple positions in the game. Don't think he's exactly suited towards a wing. I think he's a bit better as a forward. But, this is your potential Taylor Walker replacement. If he can provide that marking option, provide that and take that, best defender, because he's so mobile and his ability to play around the ground in that forward 50, he's able to run everywhere. I think that's a really beneficial player to have on our list, and it would be a really valuable Taylor Walker replacement when Taylor Walker eventually calls time.
Well, you've sold me for sure. I had my doubts, but you've definitely sold me on that one.
Yeah.
We've obviously got one left on the list of forwards. Noah Hibbins-Hargrave. I know nothing about this man, so I'm not even going to try. I'll pass straight to you, Christian, if you want to give us a little rundown.
At the start of the year, he was my pick. If I could have anyone on the list, obviously besides Dyson,
Yeah.
he was the one I really wanted. X factor and game winner, 187 centimetre, half forward from the Dandy Stingrays, playing out of Vic Country. X factor and game winner. Wants the ball in his hands in the dying moments. Reminds you of a very early Josh Rochelle. Gets it off in the clutch moments. Last year, 11 of his 23 goals in the Coates League came in the last quarter, and he kicked a game winner against Bendigo Pioneers. This is why the guy wants the ball in his hands. He's made for the clutch moments. Plays predominantly at forward. He's had a few stints inside midfield for Dandy Stingrays. I think he can make it as an outside midfielder at AFL level. I don't see it happening as an inside midfielder. I think he's a tiny bit too slow. But like I said, plenty of potential as a forward and on a wing. Played his junior career at halfback, so it explains why he's really good with the ball.
Yeah.
Great marking ability. His goal sense is elite. He can quite literally pull off any sort of goal inside 50. Moves quickly off the mark, makes him really hard to defend. And like I said, his ball use is great. It's effective, hits targets, he uses his teammates, and he runs to space. Missed a bit of footy this year due to injuries. And I've got a few concerns over his durability. He's a very, very skinny body frame. So I'm not too sure if his body would be able to hand senior footy very early on. But you've got a really exciting prospect here in Noah Hibbins-Hargrave, who can pull off such big game-winning moments, and would obviously be a testament to any forward teams, to any team's forward line.
Yeah, well said. All right, well, I think that's been a pretty nice roundup of all the talent kind of available around what we're expecting to have at our first pick. We'll go through a few late picks quickly, just to get them out the way. So obviously we've got Mitch Stevens as a father-son. Haven't really heard anything about him being selected as a father-son, so you probably assume that's not going to happen.
It's not looking likely, but yeah, just want to touch on him a little bit. Obviously, the 185 centimetre halfback from Gippsland Power, obviously father-son prospect of Mark, who played 101 games for the Crows and obviously won a flag in '98. Started playing as a half forward started last year, and then moved to halfback for a bit more consistency. And ever since then, he's really shown that he's been a pretty solid player at halfback, and was rewarded with more midfield minutes inside for Gippsland Power, and also was courtesy of a Vic Country National Championship selection, where he played 3 of the 4 games. Look, I think he's a really good player overall. I just don't know if he can make it at the next level. Good strength in the air, commitment to the task. When he's able to do something, he's able to execute well. Damaging kick, good decision maker, can run fast as well. But yeah, I don't think it's looking likely for the Crows. We would have heard if he was going to be taken up by now. And also questions out of ceiling. He's someone I definitely look at for our sample list.
Yeah.
So
that was my next question.
Bring him over. I think he'd be a really good contributor at sample level, but AFL, I don't know if he can make the level yet.
Oh, that's all right. We've got Max Michaelini as a father-son. We've got one at least. Are there any more standouts from this list you've got here, Christian, that you want to touch on quickly, or?
Yeah, I'll go to the midfielders.
Yeah.
So, one that's caught my eye is Bo Adensel. So he's actually a Gold Coast Academy player. 182 midfielder, from obviously ranging out of Gold Coast and the Allies. I really like the way he goes about it. To me, he's a Matt Crouch pretty much clone.
Yeah, right.
Accumulator, ball winner, first possession, quick hands to the outside, great at clearances, slick with the ball, moves really well by hand, and foot, kicks with both feet. His IQ's immense. Glides in the air, a bit like Jagger Smith when he runs, glides in the air. And obviously played a lot of games with Gold Coast VFL, so he's already got that senior experiences, averaging 18.2 disposals. Injury this year, only saw him play 1 game in the national championships, but a really good runner, top 5 in the 2 kilometre time trial, and top 10 in the running vertical jump as well. He's someone I'd consider bidding at 16, but I don't think he'll pan out like that. But in terms of, if we're looking to replace that Matt Crouch type midfielder, I think Bo Adensel would be a right bet. I just don't know if he'll be available at our second pick or not.
That's at 48, isn't it? So probably about 50 by the time we actually get out. It's a big discrepancy between bidding on him at 20 odd and taking him at 50. Yeah. But I get what you mean. If he's already made Matt Crouch replacement, you'd be definitely having a look. And I think we'd also probably go amiss to not touch on Matt Leray, given he's an SA product, if you've got a quick minute on that.
Matty Leray, 188 centimetre wing from Centrals. Very similar to Harley Barker, but probably not as complete. Obviously trained alongside the Crows over the summer as part of their AFL Academy commitments with Dyson Sharp. Really versatile. At junior level, he's played as inside mid, half forward, and even as half back. and he's got a really strong ability to impact the scoreboard when he's in that forward and midfield role. Dual footer, uses the ball really nicely by hand, great two-way running, obviously leadership qualities, being the captain of PAC and also co-captain of Central Districts. Really strong pressure. His ability to apply pressure in the midfield is second to none, and his work rate is also really strong as well. What he does with the ball by foot is a bit of a worry. 67% efficiency at the national championships. Tends to dumb kick a tiny bit too much.
Oh
but
God, not another Brodie Smith regen.
I think that's something you can easily work on.
Yeah.
22.3 disposals and 3.9 clearances in his 12 games for Centrals, and was rewarded with a Resi's reserves debut for the last game of the season where he kicked a goal and had 15 touches. So I think long term it'd be a nice swingman at AFL level. Another player I do want to touch on is a kid called Sam Swadling. So if you're a big fan of Dyson Sharp, you'll love this kid. I absolutely cannot find a knock on him. I think I'm genuinely amazed he has not been spoken about more. He's a 187 centimetre midfielder forward from West Perth, teammates of Jacob Farrow. His midfield craft's just fantastic. He's a big body, tall inside midfielder who I think has the potential to play pretty much anywhere on the ground. Monster numbers this year. He's had games of 39, 42, 40, and a massive game of 47 disposals. Jacob Farrow was playing the exact same side. His average is 35.4 in the Colts, 6.6 clearances in 9 matches. And he was rewarded with 4 games at West Perth for the league team, and obviously played in the national championships where he was named All-Australian. Dual-footed, really quick feet, great speed and burst, can hit the scoreboard, but it's not the greatest kick. I think that's probably something he can improve on. But he's a clearance king, gets his own footy, drives the ball forward, incredibly good marking ability, takes the ball at the highest point. His endurance and work rate is also a big ticks, really strong. His strength is great, very hard to stop. Can he apply a bit more tackle pressure in the midfield? Probably another knock on him, maybe. And obviously, like everyone, their kicking and general ball use can probably improve. But he's someone, if we don't take a midfielder at 16, he's someone I'd definitely look at our next pick to take. Like I said, I think he's a must-get. If you're a big fan of Dyson Sharp, have a look at some of Sam Swadling's highlights, and I think you'd be really impressed of the character and the player that would be able to come to our footy club.
So is there anything obvious as to why he hasn't necessarily gotten much attention around this time of year, or do you think it's just...
I don't know. There has to be a knock on him because he's not getting this much attention. So, but that's what I can't figure out because I've seen him. I don't know. Has Jacob Farrow taken all of his limelight? Are recruiters thinking the exact same thing and not talking about him?
Yeah, maybe they're trying to keep it under wraps, hoping he stays.
Yeah, I think he's a really, really strong player. Really strong player with a lot of potential.
Beautiful. We'll have to hope that he's still around at that later pick. There's obviously one more name that I think a lot of people are going to be waiting for us to talk about because he's been not directly involved with the club, but he's been around a lot of the boys, and that, of course, is Daniel Curtin's brother, Cody. Whether or not he ends up at the club is still up in the air. I think a lot of Crows fans want to see him there. I think it's probably a little bit romanticised just based on the link with Dan and that, he's been hanging around with Thilf and Rash and those boys a fair bit. But I think we'd go amiss to not have a quick little bit on him, Christian.
Yeah, so 200 centimetre forward defender from Claremont, WA. Obviously the brother of Daniel, built like a tank. 200 centimetres, 98 kilos. I do not want to be someone marking on him. His attack on the footy is incredibly aggressive. Like I said, you'd almost get knocked out trying to stand on him. Started off as a defender, but made his way forward because he's got such a good ability to kick goals. This year he was 32 goals. 9 behinds in 9 games for the Waffle Colts for Claremont. And he kicked 6 goals in the Colts grand final. So that just shows how good and how strong he is up forward. And he's got a great boot, can kick the ball from 50 plus, set shots great, contested mark really good, very strong one-on-one. And like I said, he's so aggressive with his follow-up work. Like I said, I would not want to be on him. Down back, he can play as an intercept marker. I think there's potential there, but probably suited best towards the forward line. Obviously big and tall enough to play as a second ruck. Whether he has the endurance and running power to maintain that level of intensity at the league remains to be seen. But yeah, I think Cody Curtin has the potential to be a pretty good forward at AFL level. Look, I don't know if they'll take him. I don't necessarily believe in the narrative that you want to take Cody purely because it would ensure Daniel staying.
Yeah.
I've got no concerns over Daniel Curtin staying at the Crows long time, regardless of whether his brother's here or not. I think he's an ultra professional, and I think wherever Cody Curtin goes, albeit late, I think there's a really exciting prospect there. But probably not an immediate list need, given how many keys we've already got on the list. Maybe if they want to play as a defender, there's potential there. But yeah, like you said, Dom, I think that's probably a bit romanticised, the obsession with Cody Curtin. If his name was Cody Vonson, would he have the same amount of attention?
Not from Crows fans, I don't think. And I think that probably sums it up well. Anyone else you want to touch on, or have you?
Nah, we pretty much got everyone. There's a few names I'll just mention. I think Fred Rodriguez is a really good player as well to potentially look at in the midfield. Another one who was touted to be a really top pick, but it's slidden down the ranks. I'm not too sure what the knock on him is. I think he's got some really good AFL attributes, leadership qualities as well. He's a great two-way runner. Probably a bit similar to Saligo, but a bit taller. Obviously, we were linked to Riley Sanders in the trade period, so this could potentially be a player of difference you look at with his sort of capabilities.
Yeah.
Really good to accumulate the ball with. Like I said, his contested ball winning ability is really good. Solid leadership experience at South Freo and was named the Western Australian captain. Takes the game on, dual-footed player, bursts out of stoppage, takes the ball inside 50 when he can. 25.3 disposals and a goal average in his 8 games at Colts level. And I'm pretty sure he played at senior level as well in round 1 for South Freo. I think there's a value player there, Fred Rodriguez. But besides from that, we've pretty much gone through everyone that I've wanted to speak about, who I think would be someone worth of noting for the Crows in this year's draft.
Beautiful. Well, hopefully that'll ease the minds of a few people that are a bit worried about the depth of the draft. I think Christian's done a fantastic job of making sure we've got options there, and that whatever we pick, you're going to end up happy. I think. I think quickly we might just go through each what our ideal draft scenario is. Christian, you've obviously got the most background around this, so ideally, what do you reckon we end up with?
So my talent order goes for. I'm only going to do 16 because the back end of the draft is just way too hard to predict.
Yeah.
So my talent order goes Lindsay, Doveston, Philippou, Barker, Greaves, Marsh, Hibbins-Hargrave, Oscar Taylor, Threadgold. Any one of those, I'll essentially be happy with. Like I said, I'm really happy with the talent that surrounds the pick, because everyone I've spoken about, I think, can provide a role in both the short and long term for the football club. So I'm really content with who we play, so who we'll have, and I think it provides a list need anyway, which is a bonus. But Lindsay, Doveston are probably the top 2 that I'd really love to take. And obviously I'm not opposed to Philippou, Barker, Greaves, Marsh, and then Hibbins-Hargrave, Taylor or Threadgold would be good as well.
Beautiful. And Shrimp, I assume we know what yours will be, Ollie Greaves.
Ollie Greaves, that's all. Thanks for taking over hosting for a little bit. I had a blood
That's all
nose the
right.
last fucking 20 minutes. So
I
due due,
figured
due to an due to an incident, but we're fine.
I figured you
Um,
needed some time.
yeah, mate, I've got a white shirt on. There's blood everywhere. It's an awful scene, but it's fine. No, give me Ollie Greaves, and I couldn't really give a. There's about 5 players there as Bas- sorry, Bassani's just named. I'll be happy with. So if we can get fucking Doveston, the little Nick Watson clone, I'd be pretty stoked as well. Or a Mitch Marsh, but nah, Greaves is the big one for me. I'll be very stoked if we get him.
Well, I think I was similar. I think I was pretty set on Greaves at the start of this pod, but I think Christian's definitely, for me especially, he's eased some anxieties around the depth of the talent pool, I think, because like he said, it was a bit of a media carry on about the lack of depth, but there's so many options there that I think will definitely serve the club well. So trust in Ogilvy, trust in Reid. They'll do whatever's right for the club. Now
Yeah,
we do have a little bit of feedback, but I think we've basically answered
We've answered them
the
pretty
two
well.
big
I think we've already
questions.
answered the questions.
Yeah, so obviously the one is just the most ready-made midfielder that could play next season. I think we've kind of already discussed that with Greaves. Whether or not we take him, again, remains to be seen. And then obviously someone is asking who we'll select. Crows need ready-to-go mids like Sharp and a forward like Mitch Marsh. Like Christian said, Dyson Sharp's probably a little bit out of reach for us at the moment. Mitch Marsh is still definitely a big possibility, but again, I think we answered that one well throughout. So
yeah.
yeah,
Look, I'd expect when Toomey drops his. I feel. I'll be a bit embarrassed if I'm wrong. But I don't know Toomey or anything like that. But the way I see it, I'd be really surprised if it was anyone but Mitch Marsh that
yeah,
we drafted with 16. Just given how I think the draft's going to play out. The Crows tend to favour South Australian talent. They said they're going to take best available. I think at the pick, he's probably obviously he's not the highest rated talent that I have, but I think the way it's probably going to pan out, that's probably the view of Ogilvy and Reid and the team. I think Mitch Marsh is probably the one we're going to go with.
perfect. Now, obviously, as Christian said, if you keep an eye out on socials tomorrow for Kautumi's Phantom Draft, you can normally take that as gospel. He normally nails 98% of the picks on there, so we'll have a pretty good idea going into draft night as to who we'll end up with. Other than that, either of you have anything else to add, or
I'll
No,
just
I think.
say I'll just
Go on.
say it'll probably be either Marsh or whoever. If there's a slider, potentially the slider, but it depends on who it is, and it'll be really interesting because there's going to be trades involved from other clubs, and it'll be interesting to see how that happens as well. So I'm really excited for the 2 nights and to see how the Crows improve the list. It should be a really exciting period, and I hope I can only wish Justin Reid, Ogilvy, and the team the best of luck throughout this period, and hopefully they can get the result they want.
beautiful and shrimp.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just want to say thank you to Christian as well for jumping on. It's been good to sort of run through it all and go through so many players with such in-depth analysis. You've put a lot of time into this, so thank you for jumping on, mate. Just on behalf of me, Benny obviously not here, and Dom as well. We really appreciate it.
Dom, Deal, it's been a pleasure. This is my first ever podcast I've ever done, so I was a bit nervous. So sorry if I was a bit stuttery or something. I tend to repeat my words a little bit. So sorry if some of what I said doesn't make too much sense. But to those that are still listening, it's a big honour to be on the podcast that has been a pretty big rise throughout the 2025. It's been really awesome to hear these blokes every week, and I'm looking forward to hearing them in the next year and the years to come.
And just a quick note, just for anyone playing along at home that has remembered us bringing it up in the past, Christian is actually the one that gave us the name for this podcast, so we've also got him to thank for that. But you've smashed it, mate. Like Dill said, you've made this unbelievably easy for us to go through, and hopefully, like I said, ease the minds of a lot of Crows supporters. And you're always welcome back in future, mate, if you're ever interested. But other than that, that's probably us all done. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned on socials. We'll have any Crows news out as soon as it happens throughout the off-season. We'll have a few more episodes especially geared towards the new draftees once the draft is over, but we're looking forward to 2026.
Yep, go the Crows.
Ring the bell! Ring the bell! The bell in the city of Kansas! Stand up like Matthew Nix and rule like you never had before!
Jarman again, round the